Ecocide, Vietnam. During the 1960s and 70s, the environment was seriously impacted by the Vietnam War. In an operation called Operation Ranch Hand, the U.S. military sprayed a mix of chemicals referred to as Agent Orange to destroy forests in Vietnam.
I was in the group that sprayed Agent Orange in Vietnam from July 67 to July of 68. That was the heaviest year of spraying the whole war. The government, through the Army Chemical Command, first started dreaming up the use of herbicides to use in warfare at the end of World War II. And there were ongoing studies in Fort Detrick, Maryland, going back to 44, 45. Those studies never totally ceased through the 50s and the early 60s. Then came Vietnam.
The targets are hidden behind a mantle of dense vegetation.
The enemy took full advantage of the terrain in the undercover. The option was to clear the area so we could see them. And that was why Agent Orange was so popular by the commanders in the field. And leaders of the country proceeded to heavily invest in the chemical applications of defoliating the jungle.
These chemicals by humans can be toxic, with health problems like cancers, birth defects, and nervous system disorders directly related to that exposure. These issues affected American soldiers, but the brunt of the damage was done to the Vietnamese people. It's estimated that hundreds of thousands were either killed or made ill by Agent Orange.
But there are now signs that the two countries are beginning to bridge the gap. New cooperation between the U.S. and Vietnam is taking shape here, in these polluted streams next to a former American airbase in Da Nang. It used to be the main staging area for Agent Orange spraying. It's now the city's civilian airport.
I tried to grow rice here, but nothing grows.
Last year, the first ever joint Agent Orange research between the U.S. and Vietnam confirmed what local residents like Jo Thi Im have known for years, that the area around the airport, marked by this wall, is one of the most polluted in Vietnam. Their tests revealed that the levels of dioxin, the toxic byproduct of Agent Orange, are 100 times greater here than they should be.
It is very important to close the war between Vietnam and U.S.
tích cực hơn.
Lê Kê Son, Vietnam's top government official on Agent Orange, says the test in Da Nang is the beginning of greater cooperation between the former adversaries. This neighborhood near the airport will be the first to benefit from the next phase of cooperation, a $300,000 contribution from the U.S. government for environmental recovery. The Ford Foundation and the UN will also fund cleanup here and in 2 other remaining hotspots.
This contamination should not keep doing this to our children. It must be cleaned up.
The cleanup will come too late for 5-year-old Van and her mother Ju Win Thi Lu. Local medical officials blame fish from the polluted streams near the airport for her daughter's problems. While the U.S. and Vietnam have wrangled over responsibility, thousands of new victims like Van continue to be born in polluted areas. By focusing on cleanup rather than the divisive issue of compensation, many officials and foreign observers here see the beginning of a broader reconciliation. But for many Vietnamese, cleanup is not enough.
If they agree to clean up the environment, it also means that they also accept the consequences of the chemicals. So there is no reason for them to avoid their responsibilities for the Agent Orange victims.
Ju Win says that victims of Agent Orange, like these kids in a newly built clinic run by his association, are hoping that the American project to clean up the environment is just the beginning. And eventually the U.S. will satisfy their long-standing demand and pay compensation.
And it's right for us to struggle, and we would struggle until we win.
Sẽ đấu tranh cho đến khi thắng lợi.